begin by apologizing because I don't like to recycle too much, but I have a story that the Holy Spirit says that I have to use, and I used it a couple of weeks ago in a homily. And if you remember, it was about two friends that had grown up for a time together, and they were best of friends, and then one of them, moved away. And he came back to visit, and he found out that the friend that had stayed had become a priest. And he went to visit him in his parish, and this guy was not Catholic, and he was a minister in his church. And as the priest was showing him around his parish, just kind of giving him a tour, when they passed through the sanctuary, when he got in front of the tabernacle, he genuflected and he made the sign of the cross. And his friend asked him, he says, why did you do that? And he said, well, as Catholics, he said, we believe that Jesus Christ is truly present in the Eucharist, and he abides in that tabernacle. That Jesus is present here. And his friend told him, he says, well, you know what? He says, if I believed that, he said, I would never leave this place. He said, I would have to stay right here with Jesus. So you see, the question comes up is do we really believe that? Do we really believe that Jesus is truly present in the tabernacle? Do we really believe that Jesus is truly present in the Eucharist? Preparing this homily for the Ascension, I kept asking myself, well, wait a second, why did Jesus have to ascend into heaven, right? Death could no longer affect him. He had conquered death. He died, rose from the dead, and he had this glorified body. Why would Jesus have to ascend into heaven? It would be so much easier to have faith if we knew where Jesus was here on earth, right? If Jesus had lived in Rome or in Jerusalem or wherever he decided, if we knew where there was a place that we could go and see him, it would be so much easier to believe. But I wouldn't need to have faith because he would be there, right? So why did Jesus have to ascend into heaven? Why didn't he just stay? It would answer a whole lot more questions, right? We wouldn't have any doubts about anything. So I went to one of the, I guess you could say, the best sources for answers, which is the Catechism. And there's two paragraphs I want to share with you. And the first one is paragraph 666, and that's just because of the order it was in, and 667. The 666 says, Jesus, the head of the church, precedes us into the Father's glorious kingdom so that we, the members of his body, may live in hope of one day being with him forever. Because our goal in life should be to get to heaven, to live with Jesus Christ, right? Not to stay here on earth for all of eternity, but to live with Jesus forever in heaven. The next paragraph says, Jesus Christ, having entered the sanctuary in heaven once and for all, intercedes continuously for us as the mediator who assures us of the permanent outpouring of the Holy Spirit. You see, Jesus, going into heaven, made room for the Holy Spirit to come here to guide us in our lives. Right? When we were baptized, that original sin is washed away, and our hearts are open for the dwelling of the Holy Spirit. When we're confirmed, that Spirit is supposed to be stirred up in us so that we can be witnesses of our faith. It doesn't always happen. You see, we have to ask ourselves, am I a witness of my faith? Am I a witness of what I believe in? Do I really believe that Jesus Christ ascended into heaven? That one's easy because the Scriptures tell us that. Many places it talks about him ascending. The disciples watching him and in joyous celebration because Jesus' victory over everything. Seated at the right hand of God. We know that because it's written for us. The rest of it is sometimes up for interpretation. But the church tells us that he went there to be mediators for us. And you see, if we think that Jesus is not here on earth with us, then sometimes we have doubt. I was listening to a speaker one day who said that the closest place to heaven that we can be on earth is here at Mass. Because he said during the consecration, when Father is saying those words of consecration, Jesus Christ steps down from heaven onto that altar and becomes that bread and that bread and wine. That bread and wine turns into his body and blood. And that is something that we have to believe in. But it would be hard to believe if he was still here on earth. It would be hard to say that he could be at every Mass all around the world today and every day if he hadn't ascended into heaven. You see, Jesus Christ wants to be with us. He wants us to be with him. He wants to be in our hearts. He wants to be in our lives every day. And he wants us to be his witnesses. Are we ready for that challenge? Because it is a challenge. Are we ready to take on the duty of being a witness of our faith to those people that we meet every day? Even the one that's hard to witness to. And the easy part is just doing it by the way we live. If we live our faith, if we believe in what we're taught and what we've believed all our lives, and we live it every day, we can be those witnesses. We can be that witness that Jesus Christ called us to be. Are we ready for that challenge?